West Barnstable Elementary School will soon be getting a new playground, and we find out what's on the agenda for tonight's Town Council meeting on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, June 2nd, 2016. I'm Sarah Mannel. A project to build a new playground at West Barnstable Elementary School moves forward. The school committee voted last night to use $50,000 from the school's daycare fund to help pay for the playground. Interim Superintendent of Schools Bill Butler talked about the plans before the vote.
We learned from Mr. Anthony that there is no state procurement requirement that we go through a competitive process to select the designer. The only impediment would be a town policy that encourages competition, and that policy can be waived by the town manager. I have every reason to believe that if I make such a request to the town manager, he will waive the policy in this case. So we believe that we can use the designer that's preferred by the playground committee. They were looking at two design firms, one of which has considerably more experience working with municipal projects, and that's the one that they selected. Dave Kanyak and David Anthony had a conference call this week with the representatives from that designer, and I think we're on track to complete that process. And then we have agreement, I think, that we'll go through the legally required competitive bidding process for acquisition of materials and installation of the equipment. And then I think we have an agreement that the playground committee will be responsible for raising sufficient funds to provide for the cost of long-term maintenance.
The school committee voted unanimously to approve funding the new playground. Organizers will also seek community preservation funds for the project. Town Council meets tonight to find out what's on the agenda. Channel 18's Sarah Colvin talked with Town Council President Jessica Rapp-Grassetti.
So, of course, we are deep in budget season. The budget presentation was made at the last Town Council meeting, and now I know departments and debate will begin tonight. Tell me a little bit about what we can expect at this evening's council meeting.
Yeah. After discussion with the town manager, he's going to defer any of his communications to, for time's sake. And the only presentation we'll hear is from the Citizens Financial Advisory Committee, or CFAC, as they do annually, not only on the capital budget, but on the operating budget. They do a report. And so we'll hear from that committee and then get right into the orders of the day. And our budget is quite a few items in the operating budget. What I will be doing is taking a few items out of order. The airport comes before the council first, their item 121, but I will be taking some later items 158 and 159 out of order, as well as a new business item 2016-162. They're looking for a transfer of some monies that new item from their operating expenses, about $31,000 for some personnel expenses.
Sure.
So I'd like to, have the airport come in and then complete all of their items. And then we'll jump back to, I will be taking 122, which is the schools, on the 16th. That's when they'll be coming. So they will not be there tonight.
Okay.
So we'll jump right from the airport to the police department. And other than the school budget, the police department's budget is the largest in the town, and that's a $13 million budget that they're asking. And then I'm going to try to get through a goodly amount. I'd like to get through, and it might be a bit aggressive, but through the public works items, and that would be bring us through item 134. That might be a little aggressive, and it depends on the debate and how much time is devoted to each item. My goal is to, of course, get through the budget in 2 meetings.
Yes.
Per the charter, we've got to get through these items before our fiscal year ends, which is on June 30th. So, I think we'll be okay. The other thing too is I'm going to stop debate around 10:30 and ask to go into executive session with the full council. So that we can conduct a strategy session in preparation for our contract negotiations with the newly appointed town manager, Mark Ells. And this is we'll be hearing recommendation from the contract committee, and they'll do their recommendation in executive session, and the entire council will get to weigh in on term of the town manager as well as monies for that position. So that can be done in executive session, and we would not reconvene in public session at this meeting.
Sure, and certainly. Again, as you said, you want to make sure the budget's done, and of course, Mark takes over the town manager's position on the 1st of July. So certainly, no shortage of work to be done in the month of June.
No. There's a lot going on, and our current town manager, Tom Lynch, is here until June 30th, and I think there's so far a very smooth transition, which is great. So. We've got a large budget over $200 million. When you aggregate everything, schools and general budget, so there's a lot to consider. I could go over some of the highlights of the budget, but I think our director of finance. You interview him, and he's much more eloquent in detailing the changes in the operating budget. And I know last interview I did go over some of the, with regards to the seasonal community service officers and restoring the assistant recreation director's position and some senior center staffing for the adult supportive day program, and some staff changes in public works and.
Of course.
So there's not only some expenditures, but there is some savings with regards to some gasoline and diesel fuel contracts and some utilities, and so there is savings in the budget as well as some increases in the budget.
Absolutely.
So, and we continue to be a AAA bond-rated community, which is. That's a great thing, and that shows that our fiscal prowess and have a lot of folks to thank for that.
Indeed, certainly a lot of hard work. One more thing I did want to mention, appointments and reappointments to boards, committees, and commissions. I'm looking at the reappointments taking up nearly half of a page on the agenda.
And actually, I'm going to get to that tonight as well. We want to make sure that all the appointments and reappointments are in place, because these people need to be resworn in order to vote on their respective committees and commissions. So I will be taking that item out of order. That is one of the last items on the agenda. But the most of the terms run until the end of the fiscal year, so that's why we have in these last few meetings of the fiscal year, we have all these reappointments and appointments.
Certainly.
So, and we always thank everyone for putting their selves forward for these volunteer positions.
We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 8 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will have our weekly arts and culture segment. We'll meet some pets looking for forever homes. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.